Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from the magical world of Ardemia, it's the Core Live Podcast. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Been a hot minute. I'm not even going to preamble this. I'm just going to get right into it. My name's Devin. Y'all haven't heard my voice in forever on this podcast. That's because we haven't been active on this podcast. Yikes. We'll get back to that. Joining me today is my wonderful co-host, Jaster.
We're going to keep on rolling. It don't matter. We've been on this Bigfoot grind for 6 months. We're back on it, baby. I've been playing video games for a hot minute, but that's another thing, guys. I run a Bigfoot podcast on the side with our other guy, Kaz. So that's what I've been doing a lot of. I'm actually going to me and Kaz are actually going to a Bigfoot conference in May. So that's going to be fun. But with that, guys, we'd like to introduce everybody to the whole reason we're here today. We got the developers from Positive Concept Games here to talk to us about their upcoming title, Shrines Legacy. So, I want to introduce y'all. We got Alan and Joey. How are you guys doing today?
Hi, I'm Alan. I'm the creative director of Shrines Legacy at Positive Concept Games.
I'm Joe, the technical director. Doing all right today.
That is great. So, I'm going to go ahead and knock this out of the water here. I think I've been bothering y'all for this interview for a minute. Like, I felt bad. Like, I kind of was even like, oh shit, I kind of feel bad because like what Alan was doing, he was sitting there talking on social media like, hey guys, after his game comes out, I'm about to only be doing social media for the game. So y'all want to keep in touch with me, you got to get my number. And I was like, hey, if you ever want to get that interview in, you just let me know.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, a few people. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
You're okay.
A few people actually did reach out when I made a post on my personal Facebook account saying that I'm going to delete my personal Facebook because I don't want to be on social media anymore because it's way too there's just a lot of disinformation online and it's very irritating to read people's ignorance. So yeah, I need to step away from it and kind of get back to how it was before social media in life.
Right. It's a healthier way to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you have the choice.
Yeah, and just try to get back to a sense of community, I guess. But maybe I'll be alone in that effort because a lot of people are addicted to social media. I'm really not, because I didn't used to do social media that much until we got more into advertising for Shrines Legacy. But now the game kind of snowballs and does well enough on its own that I don't need to really be present as much on a personal level.
Right. Kind of make posts. And call it good.
It does take a lot, man. Like, especially in the beginning when you're on your personal media, like, hey guys, you wanna listen to what we got going on over here, you know? Like, sometimes it feels like you're shilling a little bit, at least it did on my side whenever I was telling everybody about the podcast, you know? And like, it's rough, you know?
It's hard to get like the early like build up of people paying attention. That took us a long time.
I feel like a lot of time people want to see a product.
Yeah, and now Twitter's kind of falling apart, so that's like our best social media, and it's unfortunately a little volatile, but yeah, it is what it is.
We're doing okay on Blue Sky, but we're not doing well enough that I'm ready to just close Twitter, unfortunately.
See, like, Twitter's also our main haunt as well. Yeah. And, like, weirdly, I think it's kind of the opposite for us because being in the game news space, like, volatile battlegrounds, that's where we want to be. You know what I mean? Like, in a weird way. Like, that's how you get a lot of exposure, you know? But, like, if you're out here just trying to sell a video game, then it's almost like you're throwing it into a wolf's den. You know, you don't know if you're getting a good reception or a bad reception on the merit of what they're trying to say or just what they're spouting, for lack of a better word, I guess. But I guess the first real question we want to kind of get into is, where did the idea for Shrine's Legacy begin for you guys?
Well, Joe approached me in high school to come up with an idea for a game and come up with a story for a game. And I decided to go with a childhood story that I made up and used to tell my brother for bedtime when we were kids. So I took that story as a concept and I made it into what is our first commercial project, basically. I've improved a lot on it, of course, as far as like story structure and all that fun stuff.
Actually turning it into an entire game story and not just a bedtime story.
Yeah. And honestly, Rayma, who is the deuteragonist, the second main character, she didn't exist in the bedtime version when I was a kid. It was just Rio. And yeah, so yeah, that's where it came from. It's a childhood bedtime story, and Joe approached me in high school to come up with it, and we just dove in, and here we are.
That is really cool.
I have a quick question. Have either of you played the demo?
Yeah, I got to, I think it's Goonis Island or Goomis Island?
Grunis Island.
Grunis
Yeah.
Island.
Awesome. So you got most of the way through the rather lengthy demo.
That's what I was telling Alan. Frankly, I'm impressed with that alone. Like, I think that'll help convey your all seriousness a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think for people who have played it, they see that. Yeah.
Yeah, we probably didn't need to make that long of a demo, but whenever we're just kind of coming out of nowhere, like basically nobody's in the space, trying to, get people's attention, we kind of felt like we needed to do something like that.
Absolutely, make a statement, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, show that we're serious.
I played a little bit of the demo. My Steam playtime states that I played for 6 hours.
Whoa.
In reality, what happened was I opened it, walked around the town, and then I had to go run some errands and left the game open, forgetting about it.
But that's
But not to worry. I will be playing it, and I'm probably going to use... probably, if y'all are okay with it, I'd probably use, like, footage of the game demo as, like, the background for the YouTube video side of this.
Yes, please do.
Absolutely, yeah, because I played, like, the first few minutes, I was like... I don't think I've really played much games like it. It feels nostalgic, but at the same time, I can't remember where I've played something like it. But the few minutes that I got to play, I was really enjoying it. I really was just taking in the first, like, opening town, like, literally looking at every little nook and cranny and being like, all right, where's the secret chest at?
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's very inspired from, like, Super Nintendo RPGs in particular. And even like A Link to the Past a little bit, even though it's an action RPG and not an adventure game as much, but still.
And Secret of Mana, so on the Super Nintendo.
Illusion of Gaia, Soul Blazer.
I got to play some of those games growing up because I did have a Super Nintendo and I had a Nintendo 64 kind of side by side, and I really got the combat vibes. Like, I kind of feel like a little bit of the fundamentals from A Link to the Past, like, and I mean that more in the sense of both games feel refined in the 4-directional combat space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's not, like, attacking diagonally, for example.
And that's something that I feel like in other games that I've played in the past, people don't know if they want to do one or the other.
Yeah.
And it muddles things. Like, and I noticed with you guys, if I want to do a 8-directional thing, at least in the demo, I had to turn that on. That was something I had to do, you know what I mean? So, like, it wasn't like something the game just kind of threw at me. I had to make the conscious choice to integrate that into my gameplay, which I like that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it supports analog control despite the characters only facing 4 directions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can play with just the D-pad, or you can play with an analog stick, which is how I prefer to play, because it feels good the way it was developed to use
Right.
the analog stick.
I will say I liked how easy plug and play is with it. Like, just automatically works.
Mm-hmm.
Used a controller.
Oh yeah, like I've got a Wolverine Pro, and like I've been loving this thing because it's just been really seamless and smooth for a lot of my games. And a lot of the times when I'm playing like either emulation on like a Game Boy or a Nintendo 64 or something,
Yeah.
like it's not that easy, you know, and so I couldn't imagine it being easy for you guys to kind of get that worked in there. Or I could be wrong. Maybe like Steam kind of makes that a little easier. I don't know how that whole process works, you know?
I think Steam helps a little bit, but mostly you really do just have to program it in and make it sure it works. And some controllers are probably, you know, because we're using, well, I won't go too far into this yet, but because of the engine that we're using, like the controller like support is like not always the same for every controller, so
Okay.
I have to work around that sometimes, but it works well enough though.
No, I had absolutely no problem. Like,
And that's good to hear.
I think the overall thing I took away from the demo is everything in there feels thought through and works. And that's so refreshing. Like, I had a month-long project where I was going to do Stalker 2. I still can't play the game. And like, I'm flabbergasted. You know, you can pay $60 for a game that doesn't work, right? And I'm not entirely sure where your price point is for this game, but the demo works better than most games do on launch, frankly.
Well, that's good to hear.
That's something, yeah.
Like, you guys got something there, you know, like you're selling something that ain't broke. That's better than 90% of the games right now, for real.
Yeah, well,
Old school in the sense that it actually works, hopefully.
the funny thing is, even though right now the game is closer to being done than ever before, everything after the demo is so broken and unpolished and unfinished.
Yeah.
It feels like it's further away than it actually is. But it's the fact that all the stuff is there, it's just broken, is actually a good sign that we'll get there sooner rather than later.
Right.
We're working on cutscenes right now, like just getting them to actually look interesting and not just be characters standing there talking to each other and not moving.
Yeah,
That's pretty important.
a little bit.
So I guess another question that kind of comes off the cuff with that is, are you guys shooting for 100% at launch, or are you guys planning on post-launch patches, post-support?
Yes, we are going to do post support, like extra DLC stuff, and even a story DLC is planned. If the game does well enough in sales, and it's all going to be free DLC. That's the plan.
Yeah, we don't plan on making any paid DLC outside of like the soundtrack as a download.
Yeah. So yeah, supporting a game with a long tail is good for business.
But we still plan to release the game as a full game and not as, well, the game's mostly done, but we're gonna in the next year we're gonna have some updates to make it work.
Well, I will tell you guys this: we have one level that we're working on that's supposed to be in the launch, and I think it will be in the launch.
There's like one level that could get put into a patch, but it's an optional level and not part of the main story.
Yes, it is optional. However, at a certain point in the game, in the main story, a character tells you to come back towards the end of the game, and I'm kind of wondering if we're going to alter that if we don't get it in on launch, but we'll figure it out when the time comes.
We'll figure it out.
That's better than the laundry list of crap you tend to get. So no, good job on that. Like, that is great. I will say that. So, how long has the game been in development? You know, like concept time, all that kind of stuff. Like, is this the same game that started in high school?
No.
But also, yes.
Yes and no. Conceptually, the game began development in 2008, and professionally, the game began its true development in what it is now in 2016. So
Basically, we were learning for 8 years, and then 2016 came around, and we finally had something where we were like, you know what? I think we have something that's similar to what the final release should look like in terms of like the appearance of it. Like, we didn't have any content at that point, but we had like an engine that was somewhat functional
Okay.
and like an art style that was on the right track. Although we still made a lot of improvements since then.
and we were doing like college in between those years and working and just figuring things out and
Right.
Yeah, a lot of learning.
yeah.
Like the number of things you have to figure out how to do to make an RPG that's like high quality is insane.
No, it's not an easy feat. If everybody could do it, they would be doing it, I think. You know?
At least everybody who likes RPGs
Yeah.
likes
Right.
creating things.
I mean, people could asset flip all day, you know? Like, but people get that and they know, and then they know not to buy that product.
Yeah, you can usually tell an asset flip just by looking at it.
Yeah. There's no I don't even know if we have any assets that we bought online. Well, the icons for the controllers actually. For the you can change so you
Yeah.
can go into the config menu and you can change your controller style. So you can change it from like Nintendo to Switch to Super Nintendo to PlayStation or Xbox. You can change how it looks on your own. Like
Oh,
yeah,
That's
let's say you're playing with an Xbox controller, but you don't, or Xbox knockoff controller, but you don't like Xbox. You prefer PlayStation. Well, you can change the look of it because my brain tends to think in PlayStation when it comes to controllers.
Yeah, like you see X and you think, okay, that's the button on the bottom.
Of course, no.
Obviously.
The exact opposite.
But that's why it's good that you can choose.
That's why that's good. There's options.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
And of
See,
course,
yes,
there's the
yes.
keyboard and mouse controls. God, it took us a long time to add mouse controls, but they're there now.
Yeah, that's a more recent addition.
Yeah, it's there.
You can't move with the mouse, but you can move with like WASD, and then you can like left click to swing your sword and right click to cast magic, for example.
Yeah. So,
Which
Okay.
actually works pretty well. I've played around with it a little bit.
and if people want to play that way, and some people do, then the options are there. I mean, we tried our hardest to make it as user friendly as possible. There are other things I wish we could do, like colorblind mode, but yeah, I don't think.
There are only two people and some freelancers.
Yeah,
so
we don't. Yeah.
There's only so much we can do,
no, that's some big money stuff right there.
but we're doing our best.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that engine a little bit. Did you guys build it? Like, how? What's going on? What's the story with that?
Well, it depends how you look at it. We used an engine that somebody else made, but we used that to make our engine, but it's still basically the original engine, Game Maker Studio.
Oh, okay.
So right now it's Game Maker Studio 2. When we started making this game, it was like Game Maker 8.1 or 7, something like that. It's the same engine, but just a lot older. And it was missing a lot of features.
But you guys went under the hood and kind of reverse engineered it, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Not under the hood. It's more like we used it to just built on top of it. So we didn't really edit Game Maker. We just made a lot of systems and stuff to make an RPG work, because Game Maker doesn't really come with anything that's like, hey, you want to make an RPG game? Here's these systems and mechanics. Like, if you've ever heard of like RPG Maker, for example, it's built to make RPGs. So like there's already systems to make cutscenes. There's systems to like make like battles in the battle system, and well, we're not making a turn-based RPG, but even still, like, there's systems for combat we had to develop and stuff. So that's kind of what I mean by building an engine on top of the engine.
Right. Because, like, I almost felt like it would have been an RPG Maker, like, based engine myself. Because, like, back in the day, I used to have a guy that also, he kind of had a similar concept. I would say he wanted more of a NES style RPG than a Super Nintendo style. But he was using RPG Maker, but he was doing a lot of active stuff, a lot of platforming, adventure stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't turn-based. So,
like, you can use RPG Maker for that. It's made for turn-based, but you can use it for action-based. You just have to know what you're doing, or you have to basically do some workarounds, since it's not built for it. It's like it's built for turn-based, but you can use it you can basically modify it to do what you want. Especially the newer RPG makers. They have more modability, so to speak.
Right. I mean, to be fair, I couldn't even imagine the coding knowledge it would have taken to even start tinkering with the engine. I would have felt so inadequate. Like, no way.
To be honest, I think most people, they don't start by tinkering with the engines. They start by looking at other people tinkering with the engines, and then they kind of build off of it, and they learn little by little, and maybe they edit one little thing at a time, because they're like, okay, I want to change the damage formula of this turn-based RPG. How do I do that? And then they figure out how to do that one thing.
Actually,
and you just gradually learn more and more.
Actually, how we're making cutscenes in the engine is ripped off a lot of the code that RPG Maker uses.
Not literally.
Not literally. No. That's not legal.
Load bearing, not literally.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I just clicked RPG Maker and I hit Control C and then
No.
I hit Control V and that just worked.
No,
Game Maker.
It just worked, guys.
Joe looked a lot at how RPG Maker did its cutscenes and took a lot of inspiration from how that code.
Yeah, I took inspiration from it. Like, I was taking a walk one day and I'm just like, how the heck, or I'll just say, how the hell do I figure out how to make these cutscenes work? Like, it's like a timeline of events that's like really complicated, and it's like Game Maker doesn't have this kind of functionality.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, wait a minute, there's an engine that already does this. It's called RPG Maker. How do they do it? It's like, well,
Yeah.
and just kind of went from there.
And even though Joe is the programmer and technical director, I can technically say we have made cutscenes because I am actually learning a little bit how to program cutscenes.
Yeah, I've been showing him how to do cutscene scripting, and he's been helping me a little bit with cutscenes, which has been nice.
As the writer and concept artist and largely social media manager, it's not my favorite thing to do.
It's not my favorite thing to do either, I'll be honest.
It is.
It's kind of time consuming and exhausting.
Yeah, it's a lot, but I mean,
it's worth it though.
Yeah. There's
a big difference between, say you have two games, and one game characters are just standing there, they're not moving very much. Maybe they move like once in like a 5-minute cutscene, and it's like, this isn't good.
Yeah.
Right.
So we make a very big effort to make sure that things are happening. Like, every few text boxes, at least something is happening usually.
The cool thing about the two of us learning how to do all this stuff for this game is that for future projects, when we have a bigger team or we have more freelancers who are on board from the beginning of the project, as opposed to just the two of us doing most of the work for years, we will know how to direct what other people are doing in the future, because we did it already. So
yeah,
that is so important in anything, I think, but mostly in games. Like, the amount of times you can almost play a game and realize that the guy making the calls doesn't play games is astounding.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness, like, who came up with this? You know, like...
yeah, just like really disconnected design.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nice thing about indie gaming. indie games in general is that because they're made by a smaller team, like whether or not the indie game is very good, it's usually got a design to it at the very least that's very deliberate, which is
Yeah,
refreshing.
like a charm, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something I came into with, because, like, I'll be honest with y'all, when I downloaded the demo, like, I seen the videos that you guys been putting on social media and everything like that,
Yeah,
but I still didn't know what I was getting into, you know?
that's good to hear.
No, like, and I'm 100% behind it now, 2 hours later, you know, playing
That's
the
how
game.
most people feel when they play the game, is that it's like it's better than they expected.
Yes, because you don't know what you're going to get, you know, like, and most,
You've been trained to not expect that much.
I mean, like, I was just sitting there talking to Devin, like, I was like, hey, my buddies from high school made a video game, and I was kind of sitting there in my head, like, ... This probably
It
sounds
sounds like they're
pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like,
I think my initial reaction was, I said, "Good for them."
Well, thank you.
I didn't know what to expect. I was like, "Okay, where is
That's
it?" And then he showed me this image. I was like, "Oh shit!"
No.
This isn't just, "Oh, my buddies are making a game." It's like, my buddies are making a game.
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
Like a
When
real ass game.
You're like, here it is. Holy shit!
Yeah, man. I would be telling Archer this if it was one of those games, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like we're like a week into our development.
Yeah.
We're just started learning Unity, and we're like
Yeah.
a week into our development. I hope you really like Shrine's Legacy.
Yeah.
No.
No. I mean,
Not quite.
yeah. I mean, we've had a successful Kickstarter and everything, so it's very serious. And a lot of people never, ever get as far as we get.
No.
That's because a lot of people don't really know what it takes. It takes a lot of discipline. Let me put it this way. I think it's easier to learn how to build a house than it is to make a video game, and I'm dead serious.
To make a video game like this.
Yes.
I think people shouldn't be afraid to try to learn how to make video games in a less intense sense, but you have to keep your scope in check, which we did not do, which has been mostly a bad thing, but the end result is good.
It will be cool to say that at 34 years old, yes, we released a game that's an RPG, and it's good.
My recommendation to anyone listening who wants to make games is start smaller than RPGs, or use RPG Maker if you want to make RPGs to start with, and then build your way up.
Yeah, don't make the mistakes we did. Don't make a big RPG as your first project. It's not worth it.
Or an MMO.
You will not learn how to make games well if you're making a big RPG first, even a pixelated one like us.
And also don't be afraid to talk to other developers and stuff, especially ones making games similar to yours, and get like advice and just feedback, because you learn a lot through feedback from not just other developers, but just people who play the game too. So that'd be my advice to anyone who wants to make games listening.
Can I tell y'all my favorite part of the game? The part where I was like, I'm buying this shit right now.
What?
I want to know.
The fucking Luchador brothers,
I knew
bro. I was like, yes, there it is. I was like, that's them. I knew it. Okay,
Yes.
I'm in.
Believe it or not, the Hiroshi brothers are our favorite supporting characters. They're our favorite, and mostly because we know the whole story and we know where it's going.
You'll like them even more in the whole game. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. So
You just got to meet them
actually,
in the demo.
Actually, if you finish the demo, I think you'll see something else that kind of pays off. So,
No.
yeah, they're great. And that's another thing about our game is the first like hour of the game, the first dungeon, there's a lot more drama and not as much humor. And as soon as you get to Marie's, more of that humor starts coming in, and that's how the rest of the game is. It's a balance between the drama and the humor.
Oh, yes.
I love it.
I kind of wish we had done a better job in the beginning showcasing the humor, but
It's a little tough when you're also trying to set up the story and everything.
yeah.
I was about to say that, actually. I was like, you guys did have to set a tone. You know, like stakes, you know. It's kind of hard not to, and then also have some dude cracking off jokes in the background.
Yeah.
Like, I did like how there was...
Unmaster.
But you guys had something. Like, I'll put this out there. That one dude whose house is always fucked up. And he's like always taking a stroll and shit. And like everybody's like, where's anything in here? You know, like y'all had some humor going on. Like people had some everyday life shit happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like I think you guys hit that. You know, I think it goes a little heavier. But what I will say with that moment, I was like, oh dude, you guys actually went into it enough to have some charm, to have some fun with it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people, I think, in that sense, they almost get lost in the seriousness of the setting they're making, in the
Yes.
writing sense.
Definitely.
And like, I was thinking about it to myself. I was like, well, I know Joey, he's a laid back dude. And then I thought about it, and I was like, oh wait, I remember Alan. I was
Yeah,
like,
I mean-
I think they're fine. Like, always been a lighthearted guy.
And I'm not afraid to put some goofy stuff too.
Yeah, some of the stuff is in the game is Joe's ideas. Some of the dialogue too. Some of it. I'm the main writer, but you know,
It's good to have an editor.
the idea for a potion character, which I know you encountered her,
Uh-huh.
was Joe's idea, but I gave her
Really?
a name and a design and a personality. But
Oh, that was good. That was good.
yeah, so I mean, we work off each other. I am largely in charge of the creative side of things, but Joe definitely contributes.
Yeah, I helped edit the entire script, and I would recommend anyone writing a big story like that to always have an editor.
Yeah, I don't think editors get enough of a shout out. Like, you should have someone critique and review your stories.
And I'm not even a writer. Like I've written essays and stuff, and I can write, but I'm not a writer by heart. So, but I know enough about video games that I can read a script and be like, okay, something's not right there. I
Right.
wonder if we did this here. So it's like I have some knowledge
But yeah,
that can help.
to kind of cap it off, there's just a lot of games that take their stories way too seriously, and they've kind of forgotten how to be humorous, especially in the AAA
Oh, yeah.
space. So
We wanted to bring the weird back to games.
yes, but admittedly, with the first draft of the script, it was like way too serious. There was not enough humor. The Hiroshi brothers, Delane, the potion lady, they didn't exist in the original draft until I realized we need way more humor in this story.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Hey,
And that's
I like
an
it.
advantage of the long development time, is that we've had a lot of time to revise things like that and figure out where our shortcomings are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the balance is also very important with tone. Is like, you know, balancing the I guess the serious and the funny, just because, I mean, that's real life too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get a balance of serious and real life and
People
silly all the
forget
time.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so when you have that in your game, it feels more alive. It's like breaths of actual, you know, fresh air in the game.
Yeah. I mean, Final Fantasy is my favorite video game series of all time, and like the older games, like say Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy IX or even Final Fantasy VI, they're very dramatic stories, but they have a lot of humor in them too. Like you go to the Gold Saucer, and then Kate Sith fucking kidnaps the goddamn, what does he take again? The materia or something?
I think so.
He takes some materia and hands it over to Shinra, and then he's like, aha, you gotta let me stick with you now. This is in the original game. I think they do something different in the remake. Anyway, and it's very humorous, and I love stuff like that, because it's like you said, that's just life. That's just more realistic.
It helps bring you back in.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
it's like a snap back, you know? Like,
yeah.
It's hard to care about characters if they don't feel like people.
Yeah.
right.
I think it's why everybody
it's just
makes
someone
fun
reading
of,
a script.
right. People make fun of soap operas all the time for that. For exactly that. You know what I mean? Like how outwardly, overly dramatic everything is. You know?
Yeah.
You make fun of those people in real life. You know what I mean?
You know, I watched... go ahead.
I know I do.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I was going to say.
You know, we watched Breaking Bad like a year or two ago for the second time, and watching it again, I realized there's actually a lot more humor in it than I took granted for the first time I watched the show. So, yeah.
You're goddamn right.
Yeah, exactly. It's important. It's important to have humor in your drama.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I would say the story is more of a drama in Shrine's Legacy. It's definitely going to have humor, though, to balance it all out.
All right. So I guess the next one we want to go through, and I know we kind of covered it a little bit, is there any specific inspiration behind the names of the characters?
Oh, well, that's an interesting thing. I have a rule as a writer is for the names of places and characters, for the main, most important characters, I like to make the names up. I just make it up if the syllables sound good in my head, if it sounds good to say aloud, I just make it up, and I may have subconsciously stolen it from other words I've heard in my life. Then I do like a Google research to make sure that the names don't mean anything offensive in other languages. And yeah, I just make them up because I think the cool thing about being a writer that a lot of writers don't do is you get to make shit up. And a lot of writers, the names they come up with are based on like Latin roots or Greek. And I'm like, why don't you just make shit up? You're a writer. Make stuff up. Like, nobody makes stuff up.
Together.
I mean, I didn't make everything up. I'm being a little too harsh about that. Like, for example, there's a species in the game of humanoid fox-like people. I'm sure the furry fandom will love it whenever they get their hands on it.
Not the intention, but...
It wasn't the intention originally. Remember, we came up with this game like in 2008, before the furry fandom took off. I mean, I'm not dissing furry fandom. I'm just saying that I'm sure they will enjoy the Vulpix. That's what they're called. VULPEC. The Vulpix race. Which I took like Vulpus vulpus, which is Latin for fox, and the peck part is like the finnick fox. And I gave these Vulpix like finnick fox ears, and so in that instance, I did take something from real life, and I gave a name to the species of the fox-like people. But in most cases, I like making up words. That's just how I do. And for the less supporting characters, the lesser characters who aren't as important to the overall story, they get more common names, and that's just my style to distinguish between the slightly more important characters and the lesser important characters. So what's an example in the story itself? Like, okay,
Daniel.
Mala's parents, their names are Daniel and Sarah. Like, whereas Mala is not a name. It's not a real name. I've never heard it. It kind of sounds like Nala from The Lion King.
At the very least, it's not common.
Yeah.
Right.
Their last name is Faymore. Mala Faymore, that's her name. But her parents are just Sarah and Daniel because they're not that important to the overall story.
I will say I appreciate the fact that you guys did not go the route of using hair to distinguish importance. That is so common.
Like super crazy hairstyles.
Yeah, the anime pro tag hair trope, you know what I mean?
Oh, I'm not a fan of that. I'm more... I like how Final Fantasy does like hair designs where, yeah, the hair is it can be a little kooky, but it's not like crazy. I mean, besides Cloud.
Yeah, besides Cloud.
Cloud's literally the only Final Fantasy protagonist who has hair like that. But even he, like, if you look at his hair, especially like in the modern games versus like Goku, let's say, I think Goku's like more over the top than Cloud even.
Yeah. They definitely made his hair like a lot more like natural looking in the remakes.
Yes, exactly. I think they did a good job with the way they do the realistic looks, which is kind of crazy because it's like a human can't look like that unless they put hair gel in their hair like that.
Who needs a sword when you have hair that can slice a mountain?
Yeah, really.
Right.
No, I'm not a fan of big over-the-top hair. I like hairstyles, I just don't like dramatic anime hairstyles, even though our game looks very anime on the onset. Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of that style. That's not me. I do want to do a better job creating like more stylistic hair in the future for future projects, but nothing too anime, for lack of a better word.
Right. So, how's the game's reception been? Like, I've seen some of that. Like, I think I've seen you guys go to PAX or to Steam Fest, or how have you guys been doing? How's it been going on?
So PAX was actually our publisher, just showing off like not all the games, but like a selection of games. I think we might have been one of them.
A selection of their games that they're publishing.
Yeah, which would include ours. But we did go to MagFest, and we went to a really small local convention called Power Up GG in South Bend, Indiana. I don't know if they're still going, but that was pretty cool. But reception for the game has been very good. Like I said earlier, people when they play the game, they tend to be surprised by how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
Even our early tests. So we did a few play test sessions with our game. So like when we had the first dungeon done, we did a play test session with I think 15 or 16 people, something like that, and got I'd have to look up the exact numbers, but we tried to ask the questions in a way where it has to be really good for them to pick the highest score or whatever for a thing. And it still did well. Like, people still gave it the higher end of their opinions on almost everything we asked. So.
Yeah.
And that was the first demo, and it's only gotten better since then.
Yeah, reception has been quite positive, and as time has gone on, you get more and more people who are seeing the game, and they'll say some complainy things about it, but
usually not from playing it though.
Yeah.
Usually from looking at a post and just wanting to be a troll.
Well, it's actually a good thing because like the more exposure you have, the more you're going to get people.
Yes.
Like complaining or criticizing.
Yes,
or
it is a good thing.
Or think that they know how to fix a thing.
And we're trying to keep that in mind, like, as more people play the game, that, yeah, there will be people who just want to troll or just have really bad takes.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to separate that out from the legitimate criticisms.
Or they just don't like that kind of game, and I don't know why they played it in the first place, but hey, sometimes it happens.
Yeah, and it happens more the more people expect your game to be, like, really good, which is
Right.
kind of the danger of, like, it's the danger of success, I guess, is that you will become under higher scrutiny. But it is a good thing, though.
Yeah, I mean, bad publicity is still publicity.
Yeah, well.
Do you want to hear a secret?
Yeah. Lay it on me.
I intentionally go through all of our comments and make sure I like all of the negative ones.
Nice.
That's funny.
Duo purpose here. Like, I mean, I go through and I read all the comments, you know what I mean? Just because I want to see what people are saying. I want to see kind of how things are going, you know what I mean? And I like to engage. But also, that's the kind of shit that just shuts them down. Like, I know what you're doing. Go ahead. See how far it gets you.
Pretty
you know?
much, yeah.
Like, I see you.
They don't
Like,
realize the tip of your thumb on the thumbs up is laughing at them. Or maybe they do realize. I don't know.
Especially in Bigfoot, bro. Like, I love it. Like, the
Yeah.
Bigfoot community is so wild. Like,
I believe that.
Like, I love it. Like, I mean, if we can go into all kinds of shit with that, but we're not going to get there in this interview or whatever. But
Yeah.
the community
though.
gets wild, and like I said, I make sure I like and subscribe to every post that hates me. You know what I mean? Like, thanks for leaving your comment. Your
Nice.
opinion
I can
is
just
seen.
imagine, like, you leave a bad comment on your video, and then they see new subscriber, and it's
You're like,
you.
ooh,
Yeah.
That's amazing. I have to remember that.
it's a power,
Power
play.
play.
Yeah.
That might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, I know what your haters are saying anyway.
Yeah, true. So, okay, so we talked about this kind of in the pre-show that won't be released because we weren't recording. But y'all come from the general same areas, Jaster.
Yes.
And one of our questions was, like, I guess, how far has the game taken you in, like, travels? I guess you kind of answered that already, but, like, I don't know exactly the
Well,
length.
physically, we've traveled to Maryland for MagFest. That's the furthest we've traveled.
Yep.
As far as our game has gone, our Shrine's Legacy has been at Tokyo Game Show 2024. So
Wow.
And that was pretty cool.
I saw that.
Just
That
being
was
shown
awesome.
on the floor, not like a big like event of it or anything.
Right. I mean,
Just to be clear. But
that's still someone's going to look at that.
Yep.
Yeah, and unfortunately we didn't have Japanese. We don't have Japanese text in the game right now.
Right.
We're in touch with an indie Japanese developer from Japan who speaks or at least can write English. And, we'll probably talk to him when we're ready to localize to Japan. If things go well enough in sales. We can't promise any localizations because the game could bomb for all we know. I hope not. The numbers behind the scenes don't indicate that, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely, no matter what, it's a dice roll, and you kind of have you have some control over it, but you can only control it so much.
Yeah.
How much publisher support do you have for that kind of thing? Like, are they really got your back with that, you feel like? I feel like that might be a loaded question. Like, they might be watching,
they do,
but, like...
They do a pretty good job. So our publisher is indie.io, and we've been working with them since a little bit after our Kickstarter, I believe. So
Yeah.
Probably like 2022, somewhere in that vicinity.
Yeah, they approached us. We didn't sign the contract until 2022.
Okay.
Start to let it them... they're largely in charge of marketing on our behalf. I still do the social media stuff, but they take our games to events, and they got us on IGN Summer Showcase last year, which we probably never would have gotten.
No, we wouldn't have.
Because it would have taken money. You have to pay money to get
Yeah.
on certain events, and our publisher is definitely putting their foot forward to help with that. They've also, we've had to borrow a little bit of money from them to help speed the development along, despite our Kickstarter. But certain things, we wanted to get it done faster so we can get the game done sooner, this year, actually.
And better.
And just better.
Better, stronger, faster.
Yeah.
You know how it goes.
Yeah, so...
A little bit of extra money helps with that, so we could get some people to help with making maps for the game.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of maps, and I could make them all, but there's people who can do it better than I can, faster than I can.
Yeah.
So that just seemed like a really good way to help get the game done a little quicker and make it even better than I would be able to do.
The majority of our Kickstarter money went to pixel artists.
Yeah.
So art is the most expensive thing.
Yeah, art. Like we were talking about earlier, it might have been in the pre-show with like art and games. it is expensive, and even in 2D, we've had to put probably less than most similar games would have put for money because we're poor, but
Yeah.
still a lot. Like without being specific, it's 5 digits of money just in art.
Yeah.
So yeah.
To be fair, I think we were talking about it beforehand. Like, that is such a part of a game that people don't understand how much it takes.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
the rabbit hole goes so deep in graphics. Like, it's one of the biggest reasons why so many hardcore gamers don't care about graphics. Because, like, I think deep down, I think they realize the relationship between, like, how much effort it takes to get to double or triple A graphics and how well the game can get everything else done.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
I
like,
think.
It balloons the cost a lot when you go for the best graphics.
Yeah. Eventually, someday, if technology is allowed to continue, really high fidelity graphics will just gradually become more affordable as time
Right.
goes on, but it's just, we're not there yet. We're not anywhere near that kind of technology because things have only gotten more expensive.
Plus,
Yeah.
style is always going to be a challenge. Like, good style is
Style
never
is
gonna be
more
easy.
important than realistic.
I highly agree.
Yeah.
See, I think that was a question I was about to ask is like, if you were to make the next, like, making the next game, would you keep it in this style of like Super Nintendo, but kind of like in the Octopath Traveler where they up the graphics a little bit, or go into the 3D space?
For our next game, it's going to be more. It's still going to be similar to pixel art's Super Nintendo style, but
It might be a little more indie style, like Celeste a little bit, but we'll see.
well,
Just the graphical style.
maybe a little bit more higher fidelity.
Yeah, maybe
graphics
a
than
slightly higher
Celeste.
detail.
Like Shrine's Legacy is more detailed than Celeste.
Yeah,
But-
it might be slightly higher like resolution, but probably not very much.
I will say that with our next project, assuming sales go well enough with Shrine's Legacy overall after the DLC, after localization, we'll probably have more money to put towards the art. So I think our next game will look even better visually, but it's still probably going to be pixel art, just more animated.
Yeah, it's going to be a
Right.
smaller scope game too, which
Yeah.
we're hoping that doesn't like disappoint people that we're not making the exact same game 2.0.
Yeah, we want to take a break from making RPGs, and it is a bit of a concern from a business standpoint. Is that going to go over well? But
We
yeah.
never really wanted to make all RPGs anyways. We wanted to make just different kinds of games.
Yeah, but if things go well enough with our second project, then we're going to jump right back into making an RPG after that again.
Yeah, we do have another really cool idea for an RPG.
But we just we want to take a break with our next project and kind of just breathe and release the game a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Eventually, if we can, we do want to move into 3D, but that's going to be just a whole like experimental thing to see how it goes.
Yeah, it's going to take a
Right.
lot of money.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we can even get there, essentially. But it is something that we would like to do eventually.
So, how do you guys feel about the noise you're making on the indie game scene? Like, you think...
It's really cool. Like, it's like we're not like super well known, but we're way more well known than I would have ever, dreamed of having a game before we've released our first commercial game. Like it is really cool, and it's cool to see, like, for instance, YouTubers who we used to watch, that we only watched them, we never like communicated with them, and then it's like we've talked to some of them and they've made videos, and like Super Derek is one, David Vink. Those are, I think, the two biggest ones. that we watched regularly beforehand.
You know, Clemmy Best Indie Games has a lot of subscribers that people seem to watch for some reason.
Yeah, that's another channel.
I say for some reason because it's just him talking about upcoming indie games all the time.
Well, I mean, there's...
It's just very straightforward.
Way for people to find that.
Yeah, I guess so.
So it makes sense to me.
I feel like that crowd just wants business casual anyway. They don't want the pomp and circumstance, you know?
They just want to know what games are good right now.
Yeah.
And they want to find them without having to search through Steam for an hour. Or miss them because they're not on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it makes a lot of sense and it is really useful. But yeah, that's basically it. It's cool and I didn't expect it. And yeah, I hope that it continues.
So let's get into some of the nitty-gritty shit here. Like you said, like this game's been in development at least conceptually for at this point, like, what, 13 years? Or am I crazy? 16 years? So, like, there's got to be some challenges in there, right? Like, just lay it on us. Like, the people that are thinking, like, I want to get into gaming, I want to get into developing, like, there's going to be high times, but there's going to be low times. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that it's important to experience and hear about people not just at their best, but whenever they're having a hard time. You know what I mean? When they're having a block or they're not wanting to progress in what they're doing. You know, like hearing stories about how people get over stuff and through things kind of help, I think. So, lay it on me.
Well, honestly, I mean, I kind of got into it earlier, but just the scope of the game and how long we've been making it and how much we had to learn, like those things combined is like, it's been tough.
Yeah, really.
To be more specific, like I had to, for example, learn how to make pixel art before we started getting artists on board to help. So for many years, I was doing the pixel art for the game, like all of it. I had to figure that out. I'm not an artist. I mean, I can art, but I'm not an artist. It's not something that I think I'll ever be like, the best at. But
like I distinctly remember him being the best musician in the history at that point in the high brass in our high school. Like the amount of awards with this man's name and shit.
Well, music, I think I'm an artist with music, but speaking like visual arts, not so much.
Yeah, the soundtrack is mostly done now, and it's pretty good. Joe composed the majority
it's like
of
90, it's like 98% done.
Yeah.
And yeah, I composed all of it except for 2 tracks, I think.
Yeah, and maybe some tracks need polish here and there, but other than that, it's...
And a couple themes, like a couple melodies that Alan wrote that I like built off of.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah.
Right, because like I think that's kind of cool, like, because that's actually how I met Joey, and by extension Alan, is through band. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty crazy.
Played some ripping saxophone.
Man, I was bass clarinet for a long time, bro.
So are we all band nerds in here?
Yeah, I think everybody but Alan.
I joined...
He was in band for a little bit.
I joined band to learn how to play in sync with people better. And that was my main purpose.
You played mallets, right?
I was on percussion. Yeah.
Oh, percussion! High five!
Yeah, I did like the marimba and xylophone and even a keyboard.
Yeah,
I remember
I've got my own marimba.
We worked a keyboard in there somehow, but it was I mean, it was a good experience. That said, I've never been the biggest fan of marching band music, so there is that. But it doesn't matter. I needed to learn how to. I wanted to learn how to play in sync with people better.
Yeah.
So like,
I almost quit band because of marching band, but
Which is wild, like, because, like, I had, like, my first year was kind of rough, but, like, I ended up sticking with it until my senior year because I ended up needing to get a job at that point. But, like,
Yeah.
after that, like, I was actually playing baritone and bass guitar half the time anyway, which was pretty cool. I ain't gonna lie. Like,
Yeah.
if I started with the clarinets, moved to bass clarinet, and then I ended up in baritone and in the percussion half of the time anyway. It was pretty neat. But, like, yeah, that's not going to college for it. It's not playing professionally and everything, but, like, I will say we did take a lot of extra classes. Like, I think you were even in music theory with me, I think. I could be wrong.
I think
Does
that
that
was
think-
like I think our teacher did some private lessons, and he did music theory as a private lesson.
Yeah, there was.
That's
a couple
right.
of music theory.
And I did
classes.
do that.
I
we
do
didn't have
remember
an
that.
official class for music theory in school. I
I
did
think,
in
like-
college, but I didn't finish college. But I did finish my music theory classes.
Mm-hmm. I know.
I don't remember.
It's been a long development, bro. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
We're over here going over old school shit.
All right, to kind of bring us back, we're coming on the back of it. Probably just one last like meaty question. What would you guys say is the most fun you've had while developing this game?
Meeting other independent developers of a higher caliber than us, and not only meeting them online, but meeting them in person at MagFest. Meeting a couple of guys at South Bend was really cool. It's just been cool getting to talk to indie devs ahead of time, before, like, behind the scenes, before everyone else who are like fans can or gets to. Like, we have our own private like Discord servers where we all talk to each other. It's really cool. Like, people who are making Zelda likes, people who are making turn-based RPGs. We're all developers, and we're all talking to each other, and we're learning from each other and bouncing ideas off each other. It's really cool. Other than that, I would say just being validated and affirmed by having fans of our work in the just in the thousands. Like, it's pretty neat. I think I was saying before the call that, you know, a lot of people that we went to school with, you know, us and Jaster, it's you know, they have a lot of success in life. They have their own families, and, you know, they have their own careers, and it's really cool to know that out of all the successful things our peers have done from high school, we have this large fan base of like thousands of people. Not like tens of thousands. Well, maybe. I don't know.
It just depends how you determine it, but
Well, I guess based on our wish list count, we can say tens of thousands. But
That's a metric, right? You know?
yeah, the fact that so many people know our work personally, it's really gratifying and affirming to have that kind of achievement in life. Even if it doesn't bring us, even if the game flops, it's still nice that a lot of people noticed our work. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's pretty much my answer as well. It's just talking to people, and, like, for instance, at MagFest, like, what wasn't fun at MagFest was trying to speak up loud enough.
That was
Like,
loud.
my voice was destroyed.
Yeah, we had
Absolutely destroyed the first day of MagFest, and we still had like 2 or 3 days left.
we had to speak up because it was loud.
But seeing people play the game, that was amazing. I loved that. Like, watching people just play the game for the first time and just experience it, and, like, that's really cool. Especially, you know, when you have the game polished enough that you know they're not going to run into big snags.
Yeah.
Like, our first
Right.
builds, like, not public, but first testing builds had some snags we still had to work out, and people would get stuck. But, like, you get those out, and then you get to watch people play. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool regardless, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I occasionally look up Shrine's Legacy on YouTube just to see if there are any new playthroughs of our demo.
And there regularly is at least one, like every month or two. We see one usually.
Just secretly sleuth and see, and then I leave the only comment on the video that has like 3 views, and just say thank you for playing our demo.
Sometimes like 100 views, you know.
Sometimes, yeah, the game has had more views, and when a bigger person or somebody who streams it has like a bigger audience, the comments are usually pretty positive, especially nowadays with the graphics being better. So
I will say, like, I had seen some YouTube videos. One that even got me is I think somebody was trying to speed run the demo.
Yeah.
We did a contest at one point.
Yes.
Speed running.
Yeah, speed running contest.
During the Kickstarter is when that was.
Tell me about that. That sounds like some extra content. You know, at the end of the interview, we got all the regular questions done. Tell me about the speed running contest. You know, that sounds fun.
Yeah. All the things we've learned and our experiences, I will say, I think the hardest thing for us to have learned, the thing that took us the longest, because this is kind of a question you asked previously. Art, pixel art in general needs to be better than what it was. That was the hardest thing for us to learn.
Yeah, we went through a lot of different iterations of the game's art style until we finally found one that we liked.
Yeah.
That was manageable, because our early art style was like quadruple the resolution, or you could say it's like double as wide and double as tall. So instead of, let's say the character right now is like 16 by 30 pixels or whatever, it would have been like 32 by 60 before.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
That's 4 times as many pixels to draw and figure out and not make look like ass. So.
I can imagine that's not fun. Like, I have a hard time sometimes just learning video stuff.
Yeah, lowering the resolution was a huge help. It made things a lot easier to figure out visually, and that's also what led us to the Super Nintendo art style.
I think if that tells you anything, it's like support games that don't look like Hollywood. You know what
absolutely.
I mean?
And some of them look better than, when you have to spend more time and it's harder to make the art good because it's a higher resolution, it's harder to actually make it look good too.
Yeah, I mean, some of them do look good. I played through Resident Evil 4 Remake recently, and I thought it looked really good, stylistically and graphically. Like, it was high fidelity.
Well, that's like 3D. I'm talking like 2D pixel art, high resolution pixel art. Which
okay, I see what you're saying.
Also can look good, by the way.
Yeah, it can.
It's just you have to realize that if you're doing like detailed pixel art and you're making it high resolution, it's really hard. If you're not really good and have a lot of money and time to pay artists, or you're just willing to spend hours and hours on it yourself, then don't do it.
Yeah.
Either do lower resolution like we decided on, or you can do like a higher resolution, but like do it in a more painterly style and not pixel art. Don't do high res pixel art unless you really, really know what you're doing.
Or you can be like Power World and hire the guy from the gas station or something. That was the most insane story I'd ever heard. That guy carried half of the game.
Dang.
That's amazing.
I mean, he did like everything. He was in the back doing all the extra shit.
I mean, Nobuo Uematsu worked at a game store, and then he quit to make music for Final Fantasy, so there you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, there you go. I think he's self-taught too, right? Self-taught musician?
I'm not 100% sure, but
I'm not either. So. But he's considered, if he is self-taught, he's considered like one of, if not the greatest video game composers, so.
Yeah.
College isn't everything.
Yeah, but I mean, education's still important, but
you can do a lot of it yourself if you're devoted to it. Yeah. And experience is the ultimate decider, not education. I mean, you get educated by experience.
Yes. And again, education is important, but definitely you learn by doing as well.
Yes.
I think it's a foot in the door. But it can only take you so far. You know, experience is a little harder to get going, but once it does, I think you're good. You know?
Yeah, don't you?
Do you want to say you're a composer, or do you want to say you're going to school to be a composer?
Right.
I'd rather just say I'm a composer, you know? But yeah, I did go to school for a little bit, for a couple years, and I did get a lot out of it, but at a certain point, like, I had taken most of the classes I cared about, and like, do I really care enough to do all these general education classes to get a piece of paper to say that I'm validated when I'm trying to make my own game and I'm not trying to work for other people anyways? That's kind of the dialogue that went through my head when I decided to quit. So I wouldn't say don't go to college, because I did get a lot out of the time I spent, but I guess it's not everything, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I definitely... I went to culinary school. I got my piece of paper, all that stuff, and like... I think some of the best people I've worked with don't have a piece of paper. Like, I've worked with plenty of people from culinary school that are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my best chefs from CIA.
It means something, but it doesn't mean much by itself.
Mm-hmm.
You really just have to work with somebody and see how they actually work. And that's what really matters.
One of my favorite sayings, it goes, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard.
Yeah.
I think that's profound, in a way.
I'm running my brain through it.
Like, think about, like, Rock Lee from anime, right? He was whooping Sasuke's ass until he tried.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get it. Like, you got to put in the work no matter what, and you have to have the passion and the gusto just for it to mean anything.
It's like, I guess it's saying like talent is created by hard work, basically, or talent beats hard work until hard work takes over.
Yeah.
And I also think, like, I think it's also a warning to people that just idly keep by their talent.
Yeah, people who just like glide by on their like basically the things that they just understand easily, but then they never like grow from there.
Or their connections to mommy and daddy's money.
Yeah, that
Oh, that's big.
Always helps.
That's a big problem, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
So
I ain't got none of
guys,
that.
Yeah, we're about at time. Before we wrap this up, is there any like kind of announcement or anything you guys like to say, or you guys ready to close it out?
follow us on Blue Sky
follow us
at Shrines Legacy. We're Shrines Legacy everywhere.
We're everywhere.
Wishlist us on Steam.
We're on Steam.
And we're also on Good Old Games and Epic.
GOG.
Stop. And you can follow us on Twitter if that's your thing.
X.
Yeah, we're also on Threads and Instagram and Facebook, but I'd say like Blue Sky is the one I want to grow right now. But yeah, and the game is releasing later this year. There shouldn't be any more delays. I don't foresee.
Yeah, we don't have a date yet, but sometime this year, probably in the second half of the year.
Yeah.
And also, I'm pretty sure it's still up on Steam. We have a demo if anyone just wants to check out the game.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
it is. I got it
this morning. The demo is still there. I would know. I downloaded it this morning.
sometimes it gets taken down because our publishers like they have their own like ideas of when the demo should be put up, and
I think they've kind of not. I think they kind of stopped taking it down.
Maybe they forgot, but
yeah, I don't care if they forget about it.
I like it being up just all the time, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't see a point in taking it down. I don't understand it.
We will probably update the demo for probably I think June Steam Next Fest.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have probably an updated demo. It won't change a ton, but it will probably improve the appearance of some of the early maps and stuff. Now that we have people helping with mapping who are better than us.
And you will be able to save your data on the updated demo and carry it over to the full game is the plan.
Ooh.
Oh, cool.
That's what I was thinking. Because that's one of the first things that people ask me at work. Are like, is it going to save from the demo? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't even care.
The current version of the demo does not, but it will later in June. So
yeah, I want to do that. I don't know exactly how to pull it off yet, but I'll figure it out
somehow.
There'll be some way to get it to work, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, and you can play our game with a friend in co-op, either locally or the only online options is through Parsec or Steam Remote Play. So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe someday we'll have true online.
Yeah.
But that's not going to be on launch because it's just out of our abilities.
Yeah, online multiplayer is out of the question right now. It's too much work for us, but maybe in the future.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a big question mark, but it's something I'd love to do.
Yeah, especially when it comes to consoles.
Yeah, we do plan to release it on Switch after Steam. After Steam.
Regardless of how well sales go, we're planning to port it to Switch.
Yeah.
And probably
probably
the other consoles as well, assuming sales go well.
Yeah, we'll play the others by ear, but Switch is like, this game just belongs on Switch.
It feels like I can absolutely see myself, grabbing my Switch, putting it on the handheld mode, just kicking back on the couch and playing it.
There you go.
It is that kind of game for sure. We can't not put it on Switch, and with Switch 2 coming, that's a possibility. We'll have to see what we can do because our engine has a way of porting that we have to kind of respect. So it'll kind of be determinant on our engine if we can do Switch 2 or not.
Yeah, it's up to Game Maker actually.
But I'm sure they want to get it working too. So
yeah, they're probably already in talks with Nintendo.
So I'm sure, if not immediately, at some point they'll probably have that working, and we can utilize that most likely. Or if Switch 2 is supposed to be backwards compatible with the Switch online store, so that might just work.
Yeah,
actually.
it might just work.
But
Here's to it.
On Switch.
No,
I think that's about it on our end.
Well, thank you guys. I do appreciate the time and coming out here to talk to us and everything. Absolutely. And if you guys want to make yourself a stranger, you got an open line.
Sounds good.
Alrighty.
That's how it works. So
we don't kick people out of the office, as we say.
Yeah, this ain't even our office. This is after hours somewhere else. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
All right, y'all.
Thank you guys so much, and thank you all for listening. Make sure you guys check them out. Like they said, demo available. Wishlist them on Steam. Look forward to it. Follow them on the socials.
You got it. So this is Jaster and Devin with KOR Live with our interview with the developers from Shrine's Legacy. If y'all liked what you heard, just remember, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Help out a small channel like us. We hope you all have a good night. Thank you very much. And most importantly, bye.
Bye-bye.